We got New Hampshire Motor Speedway Cup Series. We got some weather to deal with. No qualifying, no practice really. This is going to be interesting, guys. Let's hit it. What is up, guys? Welcome to the Edge DFS. My name is Tyson Smith, joined by Sterling Theiss and Ryan Mahle. What is up, guys? How you guys doing?
Not too bad. How are you doing today?
Not bad, man. Had a decent little win yesterday with Xfinity. I didn't watch the race. I just kind of checked out. I had like 82% Chandler Smith, and I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm screwed. And I get out of dinner and I look at my phone and I go, oh wow, okay. First place in the $4 contest. I'll take a little bit of that. So that was a nice surprise. That was a nice surprise. I wanted to talk briefly before we get into this. Like, obviously, I mentioned, there's some weather to deal with. We have no qualifying info. We have no practice info. So it feels like a lot of this is going to be, there's a couple guys that we're in on. There's some value to talk about, but it feels like this race is going to be shrug your shoulders and let's see what happens sort of a situation. But I kind of wanted to talk just some general strategy here. So this $4 contest, which by the way, this $4 contest in pretty much any sport is pretty elite. But like I said, I had like 82% Chandler Smith. Hang on, let me get you guys in on this side here. And it's like, I had a lot and I thought my day was over, but my strategy usually is to kind of just get as many possible lineups that I can get within my bankroll. And if you look, I mean, if I didn't hit this, I would have been a massive lost day. It just takes one lineup. It just takes one lucky lineup. I got super lucky in this case, but playing that many lineups allowed me to be able to get this because I looked this up. I think this lineup was, I don't know, the 100th best lineup, or I'll have to confirm that. I'll post it in the Discord later. But if I didn't play that many lineups, I would have never gotten to this one. So anyways, Sterling, I wanted to talk to you about your general strategy. Now, this race is going to be a little bit different probably. I personally am going to get as many lineups as I possibly can. The $4 20 max, the $1, the 25 cent, the mini max, a couple of bullets into the big contest. But Sterling, your general strategy, how do you usually play it as far as your entries? Are you looking to get less entries with higher entry amounts? Are you looking at some of these smaller contests? Like, what do you typically do, and what are you doing this week?
Typically, I'll build one main, and then I put that in basically every contest on Draftkings. And then I normally do a 20 max, and I'll just put that in every 20 max contest and the 15. But this week I have my cousin's graduation party this afternoon, so I won't be watching the race. So I'm probably just going to throw one lineup in, but I'll put that in every contest. But it kind of helps of the rain and weather situation because typically New Hampshire is a really good track for us DFS wise, but we're going to have a lot of unknowns going into this one.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So with a race where we don't really have we don't have any qualifying info, like they used a formula here to, figure out the starting positions. I mean, what the hell do we do? Like, obviously, Chase Elliott's up front. There's some good value. It feels like some of these guys are sort of home run-ish type picks, but without any numbers, like, what do we really know? Like, how confident can we be today? I would say it probably not very confident at all, which is another reason I want to get as many lineups as I possibly can, right?
I think we can actually be fairly confident in the fact that last week was the same tires, same package, and a pretty similar track, actually. Last week it was a 7/8 of a mile, and this week it's like a mile and a 16th. So pretty similar size tracks, same tires, same package. So whoever was fast last week, I think is going to be fast this week.
Thoughts, Ryan?
Yeah. We're going to just basically look at track history and just tracks that were similar this year. Like we talked about on the podcast, and we've been talking about all week. It's kind of like Iowa was pretty much the same, and it's got the same tires. So I'm gonna kind of go a lot on last week's race. So I don't know if that'll be good or not, but that's basically all we got so far.
And then Phoenix, Richmond, and Gateway had the same left side tires. So I'm going to look a little bit at those weeks as well.
So the odds-on favorite on DraftKings Sportsbook is Christopher Bell. You got Truex, Elliott, Blaney, Larson, Hamlin, and you followed by Logano. So what are we thinking here about the weather? Obviously, it's going to be unpredictable, but they moved up the start time. It feels like they're trying to get it in, but it feels like there's also a chance that maybe this could get called. What is it, after half? It's an official race, right? Am I correct on that?
Yeah.
So, does that change our strategy? Like, are we building any lineups accounting for the fact that, hey, maybe at a certain point this thing's going to get called early? Does that change our strategy at all? Are you getting that deep, or is that overthinking it?
I almost I definitely think it should. I'm going to take a look at the weather probably closer to. As of right now, it's kind of all over the place. It depends on which weather channel you look at. I looked at one and it said that there was rain this morning there, and then it don't rain until 4:00. And then I looked at another one that's rain all day basically. So, but I think if you plan on it being called early, you can play more place differential / guys that start up front that you don't think are going to hold, because they won't have as many laps to fall basically. You're not looking for many dom points, because if you only run half the race, that's only half the dominator points. So I mean it definitely does. I don't know which direction I'm going to go yet, but I mean, Sterling, do you have anything to add to that?
Basically, you pretty much hit it on the head there. Keep an eye on the weather, see what it looks like closer to lock, and I think the only difference would be you could build a 1 dom line instead of 2, but for the most part, I'm just gonna build like we're gonna get the whole race in.
Yeah, as of right now, that's how I'm gonna do. But yeah, I mean, you could go like a Chase Elliott, and then I'd be more inclined to play like a Denny Hamlin / Kyle Larson, and just hope that they move up a couple spots, and then you could play like guys that are starting towards the front, like a Stenhouse or like a Josh Berry. Yeah, that was a name that came to mind. Like Bowman starting 5th. Yeah, I mean, guys that you if they ran the whole 301 laps that they're probably not going to stick. But
then it gives guys like Justin Haley more opportunity or less opportunity to make a mistake on pit road like last week.
Yeah.
So if this race just doesn't even happen, and let's just say it gets pushed to Monday, does that change anything for us? Nothing should change, right? The way we build, if this gets pushed to Monday?
It honestly shouldn't. I might just off of past history, I might be higher on Truex.
I knew exactly where you were going on that.
Yeah, they call him Monday Martin, but I don't know the exact stat off the top of my head, but for some odd reason, he just runs really good on Mondays. But other than that, it doesn't change anything. It's just all superstition, I guess, or
I don't know. I think it could actually have something to do with it's typically midday race, so you got a hot slick track. He runs good in hot slick track, so maybe there actually is something there. But
there could be, but yeah, that's the only thing, and that's just, I don't know if that's good advice or not. That's just something that I'll probably personally do.
So shout out to Scott Tradamus in the Discord. If you're in a state that you could play DraftKings Pick 6, the lines feel pretty soft. The over under on Chase Elliott laps led is 13.5. Christopher Bell laps led 10.5. It feels pretty soft. So if you can get in on that, I would. I think at this point, last time I checked, any of the 2 and 3 pick contests were max. So I think you got to do a four pick. but it feels pretty nice to be able to jump in and get some action on some of these prop bets for NASCAR at this point. All right, so let's talk about pit stall. Let's talk about starting position. What jumps out to you? It looks like Chase Elliott has that nice pit stall. What are we thinking? Anything jump out to you with some guys that you might not think about previously, but you look at where they're at? And does that give you any more hope for some of these guys? And Chase Elliott being up there, it feels like he's got a pretty good shot to lead a lot of this race, right?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's a Chase Elliott takes off with it for a while, and I mean, if somebody ends up catching them, they do. I mean, Byron, I think might challenge him at some point. I don't know how Blaney's going to be, but one thing to note, Hendricks hasn't won here since 2012. So this has been, what do you want to call, like a Toyota playground? I mean, it's been Joe Gibbs racing the entire way. So, I mean, this might be a Christopher Bell, Truex, Denny Hamlin. Who's the fourth guy? I'm drawing up. Oh, Ty Gibbs. I mean, maybe one of them continue the streak, but SHR normally runs good. I mean, I don't know how much stock we want to put in the SHR as a whole because of the whole, a lot of them might be checked out kind of, but as far as pit stalls, I do like Chase Elliott's pit stall. Anyone stick out to you, Sterling?
I like Christopher Bell, and hate to say it, but I like Truex's pit stall. I don't think that's enough for me to play him today, even though he has dominated the last two races here. I'm not going to be on Truex today, but like I said, I do like Christopher Bell's pit stall, and then Ross Chastain.
Yeah, even Alex Bowman's got the empty spot ahead of him, but I just don't see Alex Bowman holding on the fifth spot.
All right, so who are some guys here that have a good history with this track? Is there anybody that just based off of their previous performance that you're just like, all right, I'm going to get to more of this guy, even though maybe they haven't been doing well lately?
One car that kind of sticks out is Noah Gragson. For some odd reason, Rodney Childress' crew chief has a bunch of wins there. Or no. Who am I thinking of? Not Rodney Childress. Whoever the crew chief is for the 10 car, because Eric Almirola, that was like his. I don't know if it was Almirola or if that was the crew chief, but yeah. That 10 car has won here a bunch of times. So, but Brad Keselowski won here a couple times. I don't know how much I'm putting stock into that.
Yeah,
Martin Truex has won here a ton, but I just don't think. I don't know. Sterling, is there anybody sticks out to you?
I mean, kind of obvious, but Denny Hamlin, but someone that isn't quite the obvious is Bubba Wallace at 7,500. He finished 8th and 3rd here in the next gen races, but he didn't really do anything in the old car here. So maybe he has something figured out in this next gen car here. Like you just said, this is Toyota's playground. So,
all right, let's get into this breakdown. We're going to go position by position here. We're going to look down the list. We're going to look at value. We're going to look at some of our core guys. We'll have Sterling's write-up up as well. If you guys want to join the Dynasty DNA Discord, that's in the description. That's free. Just go ahead and jump in there. Jump in their NASCAR channel. There's a bunch of smart dudes in there talking. If you got any questions, you can always jump in there. Let's get into this breakdown. Let's do it. Break it down. All right. So let me pull all this up. So let's sort by starting position. So Chase Elliott up front, Blaney, Byron, Bell, Bowman, Logano, Truex, Chastain, Brad K, and you got Josh Berry all in the top 10. What's our strategy here, man? How many guys, Sterling, what are your thoughts on how many guys that we want to get involved in the top 10? Are you setting any rules for this? And besides the obvious Chase Elliott, Christopher Bell, Logano, Truex, etc., who are some of the guys that you're looking up here that you're not interested in? and some guys that you're just going all in on. I'm assuming that Elliott and Bell are probably two of those guys. They're going to be high owned. Is there any reason to get crazy? I mean, we talked about it last week with Kyle Larson. We were all in on him, and we mentioned all it takes is one mistake. All it takes is one dude, one other driver that messes up, and that's it. So there's never really a real true home run, but we got to take stands. Chase Elliott and Christopher Bell feel like the guys that we want to take stands on, at least in the top 10 here. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think pretty much all my lineups are going to have Elliott, Bell, and then I'm going to mix in another high value guy. I think whether it be a Byron, whether it be a I think I'm with Sterling on this one. I don't think I'm going to have any Truex Jr., but I might sprinkle in a Hamlin or Larson. So what do you think, Sterling?
Yeah, I'm going to start off with a whole lot of Chase Elliott and Christopher Bell. But outside of them guys, inside the top 10, I don't really have a whole lot of interest in anybody other than Ryan Blaney and potentially Alex Bowman just because of his price. But, or I guess Josh Berry too. But I definitely won't have more than 3 top 10 starters, most likely just Elliott and Bell.
So it feels like Elliott and Bell are going to be, kind of locked in here. Like, Sterling, if you were playing a bunch of lineups like you normally would, is this a situation where you're comfortable getting 70-80% of both of these guys? Or are you trying to, get a handful of lineups where you have one or the other? What are your thoughts on strategy with Elliott and Bell? I feel like I'm okay with just, getting to that 70-80%, maybe getting a handful of lineups where I have one only. But, starting off, clicking buttons, the first two guys I'm putting in my lineups are probably Elliott and Bell, right? Like, so how comfortable are you guys with getting a lot of exposure on these two dudes?
I'd play like normal, probably 70 to 80% of those guys. And something I want to hit on is going back to Elliott and Blaney, since they're on the front row here. Looking at the past optimals, I looked at the last 5, and in 4 of those, there was a guy from the front row that was a main lap leader. So I wouldn't mind making a rule like Elliott, Blaney, get at least one of them guys in every lineup.
Interesting. Thoughts there, Ryan?
Yeah, I actually didn't know that. So that's a great point. So yeah, I haven't made them yet, and I'm probably just gonna max out the chrome horn there, the $20, and I think that's all I'm gonna do. But I think I'm gonna have probably 18 of the 20 lineups, Elliott and Bell, and then I'll probably just get different with 2 of them. So that's what I'm doing.
Any thoughts on being against getting Elliott, Blaney, and Bell? Is that too much?
I think that would be too much. I don't think there's enough laps.
Yeah, I didn't consider laps, honestly. That kind of just scares me because of weather. But
yeah, exactly. So I wouldn't do that.
Pricing kind of scares me. I'm not really. We can try and build one here later with 3 of them, but
yeah,
because you'd have to go
even
way value.
I had a Bell, Byron, and Elliott. Now I'm kind of second guessing it because I think William Byron might have a decent card today, but even I'm kind of second guessing that now that I say that out loud.
So, I mean, if you're using an optimizer, but it's probably not going to pop up because of how expensive they are. But if you're hand building, maybe that's something to avoid. But potentially creating a rule with Elliott, Blaney, Bell, max 2 could be beneficial. But I don't even think that you'll run into an issue where all those guys would end up in a lineup together. Anybody in this top 10 that you're just like, I'm not playing them? Like, I know that you guys are playing maybe a little lighter today. For a guy like me who's playing 200 plus lineups, is there any reason to say, nah, I'm taking a stand on one of these guys and I'm going to X them out? Is there any reason to do that?
Would you X out Joey Logano, Sterling? Because I personally am, but I don't know if you're making 200, if you would.
I don't know. That's kind of tough because you almost have to try and X out some people. So I would probably X out Logano, Truex,
Ross.
and then
So yeah, just
I
Ross.
like Ross because of his pit stall and his pit crew. I could see his pit crew getting him the lead at some point.
Okay.
But
Brad K, I think he could. This seems like a race where he could sneak into a top 5.
yeah, but at 9K, I think I want him to dominate.
Yeah.
So
But I don't see him dominating. I don't. So he might be a guy you can uncheck.
I would feel comfortable with fading Logano, Truex, and Keselowski inside the top 10.
what are we doing with Josh Berry here? He's at 8K, priced well. Like we were bringing up earlier, if this race gets called early, he's got a better shot of, maintaining that top 10 and possibly getting some decent fantasy points. But generally speaking, are we interested in Josh Berry at all? It looks like he's coming in around 20% ownership. What are your thoughts on him as a value play?
Yeah, me and Cam Fan were actually talking last night. He's in the Discord, and like he was saying that we feel like a lot of people are gonna go Kyle Busch in that range. So I feel like Josh Berry could hang around that top 10. This is his kind of track. So I think he hangs around. I mean, you saw him last week at Iowa. He did battle for the lead there a little bit. So
I want to say he led like 20 to 30 laps.
Yeah. After I said that, I was like, I think he did take the lead, but
for some reason the number 32 is sticking in my head.
But I think Josh Berry could come in a little lower owned, just because of Kyle Busch being priced right next to him. So I think Josh Berry is a nice GPP pivot. If you're playing cash, I think Kyle Busch is definitely the safer route. But anything to add to that, Sterling?
Yeah, I definitely like Berry as a GPP play, but on the flip side of that, I think fading Busch and cash is a very easy way to make your cash build different. But I mean, if you look in that range, you got Bubba Wallace, Kyle Busch, Josh Berry, Alex Bowman, Chris Buescher, and you could even kind of go up there just staying. I really think Berry's going to be the lowest owned out of all them guys, so that's where I'm going to if I'm in that range.
All right, let's move on into this maybe 11 to 20 range. Suarez, Reddick, Hamlin, Buescher. You brought up Bubba Wallace, Ty Gibbs. You got Kyle Larson at 19th. All right, so what are we doing with Kyle Larson here? All right, he's 10K. It doesn't look like we're going to be able to get, an Elliott, Bell, Larson build. Probably not. I mean, potentially you could if you massively punted. But, we're going to have to make decisions. Him starting at 19th feels like a pretty good opportunity for him to move up into the top 10. Yeah, Sterling, maybe you could do the math on this, but where does he need to finish? If let's say he didn't lead any laps, where does he need to finish to pay that off, that 10K off? Because if we don't think he can win this race, which he definitely can, what do we need to do to play Kyle Larson starting at 19th there?
I actually uploaded the King Sheet thing to the Discord. I should have told you that, but he needs to finish 6th to get 5 times value, and he needs to just win with no dominator points to get 6 times value.
Got it. So are we interested in him for this one?
It's just like you said, it's tough. It's tough to get him in. I think I started the build and like I got one in, but yeah, it's just hard. How about you, Sterling?
I'm kind of really torn on what I want to do with him because last week during that Iowa race, I was sitting there and I'm like, all right, next week I'm building around Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson no matter what. Now, fast forward to this week and I'm looking at it. I'm going to kind of just quickly go over what he's done at their short tracks this season. Phoenix, he finished 16th. Richmond, 2nd. Martinsville, he won. And then Iowa last week, he finished 10th. But wait, what? That is not right.
No.
He didn't finish, right?
All right. Yeah, I had the wrong sheet pulled up here. Phoenix, he finished 14th. Richmond 3rd, Martinsville 2nd, and then last week 34th. So previously of last week, he was a consistent top 5 car, really, except for Phoenix. Now, the thing that sticks out about Phoenix is I feel like it's the most similar track to what we're going to see today as far as size and configuration there overall. But I'm really just right in the middle on what I want to do with Larson. I feel like I should trust my gut from last week and play him, but I right now I'm leaning towards not playing Kyle Larson.
If you had to pivot off of one dude, whether it be Elliott or Bell or any of these other expensive guys that you want to get in, Hamlin, like who would you pivot off of? Like, because like we said, you just probably just can't play all three of them. Would you choose? Would you choose in lineups where you want to get some Larson to maybe pass on Elliott or pass on Bell? What do you think?
Just based on speed on the track so far, I would probably fade Chase Elliott and hope that Christopher Bell can get to the lead before Larson gets there. How about you, Sterling?
It's a really tough question, but
that really is.
Yeah, exactly. It's an unanswerable question. I mean, you're just kind of screwed either way. But we're going to have to get some Kyle Larson exposure. He's going to be 30+% owned, at least what I'm seeing. Are you seeing higher than that on your end?
Yeah, right around 35 is what we're seeing.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to brainstorm ways to get him in and still be able to, fit those other guys in. I think it's just going to be a situation where you play a lot of lineups and you rotate these guys in and out.
You got to ask yourself, who do you think is more likely to lead 100 laps? Do you think Christopher Bell is more likely to lead 100 laps, or do you think Chase Elliott's more likely to lead 100 laps?
It's honestly really tough.
Yeah.
I think if I'm fading one of them two, it's going to be Elliott, but I definitely would not feel comfortable about it.
Yeah. That's my answer too.
One way you could look at that though is, do you think we get rain and we race till halfway? Because if that's the case, then I think I want to fade Bell.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, I think me personally, I'm gonna have a handful of lineups that I build specifically for a shortened race, just in case. And my strategy will change a little bit. And, maybe I have, 10 lineups or so that I build as if we're racing on Monday. And maybe Truex gets a little bit of a, legacy sort of boost on his projection. Besides that, who else are we thinking here in this range, 11 to 20? Denny Hamlin's at 10.8K. It feels like these dudes, the Hamlins and the Larsons of the world, their ownership is going to be just generally lower because you just can't fit them all in because we have two kind of slam dunk kind of guys. So can we take advantage of that lower ownership and just really try to go over the field on these guys and maybe just get a little bit less Elliott Bell? I don't know. What do we do here with that? What is your opinion on this there?
I'll go ahead and let you start, Sterling.
I'm looking right at these guys, 16th to 18th. Todd Gilliland, Bubba Wallace, and Ty Gibbs. Mainly Ty Gibbs and Bubba Wallace because they're in Toyota's top tier. Basically both Joe Gibbs racing. I know Bubba races for 2311, but that's basically a Joe Gibbs car. But they've both ran very well on this style track. They've ran well in this package. And like I said earlier, Bubba finished 8th and 3rd in the two next-gen races here. And at 7,500, he can easily pay that off. But I don't know. I really like the idea of pivoting to Bubba and Ty Gibbs off of Hamlin and Larson just because I don't think anybody's going to.
Yeah, I got to agree. Is there anybody else in the 11th to the 18th that you're really looking at? Like Busher? I'm kind of...
He scares me.
He scares me too.
He even came out himself and said he just is not good here.
Yeah, I think if you agree with me on this one, Sterling, Stenhouse and Suarez, I think I'm unchecking. I don't think I'm playing either one of them.
I can't do it. But the guy right in between them, Tyler Reddick, I wouldn't mind having a little bit of him, but
not a whole lot. Just because he's one that it's just kind of been underperforming at like he's supposed to be good at like Darlington, and he kind of just I don't know. He just kind of just hasn't been there, and even last week.
He's another Toyota too, though. So
yeah,
seeing him right around 20% ownership, I could see being like 10 to 15 on him.
It feels like if there's a guy that you're kind of, up in the air on, if they're Toyota, maybe they're just going to get an instant boost potentially. If you're right on the edge between two guys, maybe one guy's in a Toyota, one guy isn't. Maybe the Toyota gets the advantage. Is that how you guys are leaning?
Yeah, for some odd reason, Toyota just runs really good here. So yeah.
All right, let's move on here. Anybody else Gilly? We talked a little bit about Busher, Hocevar in this top 20. Any interest there?
Yeah, I mean, as a quote unquote punt, I really like Hocevar and Gilly. I think Gilliland could get a 12th place finish or something, and I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't.
I wouldn't be surprised if he somehow does something to put himself inside the top 5. Like, I'm not saying I expect it, but if I see it, I'm not going to be shocked. But if I do see it, I'm going to be a little upset because I'm probably not going to have him.
Right. And Hocevar, I think he'll ride around 15th to 20th, right where he starts. And that for that price, I think that's all you really need there.
Thing about him though is I feel like he might get some spiked ownership because he appears to be the fastest in practice, but we only had like 4.5 minutes of practice, so you can't really consider that.
Right.
All right, so let's get outside of this top 20 here. Noah Gregson, you got some of these guys in this range that are priced really well. Who's jumping out to you as interesting? You got Chase Briscoe, 7,200, 23rd. We'll get to Kyle Busch here in a second. Looks like he's going to be the chalk. It looks like he's going to be the highest owned guy potentially, depending on where you're looking at. But this 20 to 20 plus range, we're going to have to dip into these 5K, 6K guys a little bit. Definitely the 6K guys. So who jumps out to you here? As interesting plays that we can, these guys are some of these guys are going to be high owned, but I feel like we got to have to sprinkle in some of these 10% owned dudes into some of these builds.
I hate to say it, but everybody from 21st to 24th, I think I'll sprinkle in Briscoe. I'm really high on, and Haley I'm really high on. Dylan and Gregson, I'm like low to medium on.
I don't know. In this range, I really only care to play Haley. I'd get a little bit of Briscoe, but 21st or 25th, it's basically just Briscoe and Haley for me.
Yeah, Briscoe runs good at like Phoenix, and I think Phoenix runs a lot like this track. How's his other finishes at like Sterling?
Briscoe?
Tracks like that. He's just the name that sticks out that probably runs good at a track like this.
He's been top 20 car, top 15.
Okay.
So starting 23rd, say he finishes 15th, that's what, 35 points.
So with him being what's his price?
7,200.
So that would be 5 times value. Yeah. That'd be 5 times value. So yeah, he's got to, I guess, finish. I'll pull up that thing, but
yeah, he would have to finish 15th with like a fast lap or two to meet value.
All right, so let's not bury the lead here. Let's talk Kyle Busch. Not to spoil anything for our fade segment, but it feels like Kyle Busch, you got to make a decision. You either embrace, go all in, hope that he can, hope this race finishes and he can end up. I mean, you really only what do you need him to finish? Top 15? Probably not even that. Probably
17th.
17th.
Get 5 times value. Yep.
Yeah, but he's so high owned that it feels like you're going to get a Christopher Bell, Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch type builds, and how much different can you get from that? So it feels like playing those 3 guys together is a non-starter. If you want to play Kyle Busch, it feels like you got to make a decision and maybe leave one of those dudes out. I don't know. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, you definitely. I think it's one of those you got to take a stand on them, and I don't know where I'm at with them yet.
You both know where I'm at.
I know. I don't know where I'm personally at with them because Listen, this guy's been snake bitten. His snake bitten's been getting the past couple weeks, but he's had decent cars until he gets snake bitten, and that's what's kind of like, okay, if he could put together a clean race, I feel like 17th and 15th is way more than doable. But he is having the worst luck, So I don't know.
It feels like to me, Busch, in the first stage, he'll get a penalty. He'll fall back. He'll make his way back up. And then, he's optimal. And then he gets in some bullshit wreck and he's done. Like, it just feels like every single race. Or he's leading, or he's doing really well, and then he gets speeding penalty, and he's in the back. I'm just not going to mess with it until I see him win. I understand that he doesn't really need to do a whole lot. He needs to get 17th to be, to hit 5x. If he gets top 10, he's going to be optimal. But do I see that happening? I mean, who knows? This race is a lot of different things can happen. I'd rather just fade the dude, and if Kyle Busch beats me today, I'm just moving on. I'll play MLB. I'll play MLB tonight. I'll start looking at next week. I'm okay with that. I can live with myself if Kyle Busch beats me today.
I don't blame.
Yeah. So anybody else in this range? I mean, obviously Kyle Busch is going to be super, super high owned. Do you foresee anybody else picking up decent ownership in this, 20 plus range?
Probably Ryan Preece, just because it's his home track and he runs the modified races here. But man, that car's just been so bad this year. Just been so bad. I don't know if I can. It seems like an easy play, him starting 31st, but I just don't know.
I like Ryan Preece a lot. He seems to always run good here, but then something happens and he finishes like 25th or worst. But another guy in that range I like is Austin Cindric. I don't think he's going to be very high owned. I don't think he's going to do anything crazy, but starting 29th at 7K, he's definitely worth having a little bit of. Plus, we did see him win at Gateway, which was they had left side tires that they'll have this week. So similar tire setup.
So Ryan Preece has to finish 20th to get 5 times value. He's got 1, 2, 3. And he does have a couple top 20s. He's got 2 top 10s, so he could get up there.
If there's a place he's gonna do it, it's here. Definitely here.
Yeah, you are right. And who else did you say? Cindric. Cindric has to finish 18th to get 5 times value.
What about Eric Jones? Because I have a lot of interest in Eric Jones starting 32nd at 5,900.
Eric Jones. He has to finish 22nd.
I think I went back through and I looked, and in the short track races, Eric Jones has finished right around like 22nd to 25th. So that's definitely doable for him.
He did come out and say that for some odd reason, there's just no speed in his cars lately.
Yeah, we've definitely noticed that.
We definitely could see that. So like, I think Eric Jones might be in that Kyle Busch category where it's like, maybe let him beat us. Yeah. I don't know. I definitely see the appeal in playing him, but it might just be with his back too. I don't know how healed he is from his back, and then the car's just not showing speed.
He is in a Toyota though.
He is.
So who in this range are you just not interested in getting any exposure to? Like for a guy like me who's playing quite a bit of lineups.
I've no interest in LaJory, Burton, a little bit in Nemechek. Not really any interest in Hemrick or Gralla. I could see playing Ty Dillon and maybe Zane Smith, I guess.
Now, I think one thing I want to point out is you could see a lot of these guys go laps down.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I could see Corey LaJoy sticking around the lead lap and taking a swing for the fence at the end.
I could see it.
But like the other guys, I could see going a lap down. So I'm kind of going to play. I might be a little higher on LaJoy than maybe most, just because I could see him sticking around the lead lap or getting in that lucky dog a couple times. And then he's a guy that he needs a win to get in the playoffs, and I don't know. I can see him taking a swing at the end.
I think you are a little bit tired.
Yeah, I might be. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. I think he's a team that gambles.
I think I'm going to try to not build with anybody that starts outside the top 24.
Interesting.
I mean, I could possibly stretch that to McDowell, but 26 on back, I'm going to try to just completely avoid.
Honestly, that's not terrible. Other than Kyle Busch, yeah. I mean, I don't know where I stand yet on Busch. I haven't quite made a decision.
We know at some point Kyle Busch is going to throw a hissy fit. So
yeah, I could see it. I could see it, but at the same point, if he's 50% owned and he throws a hissy fit, might not burn you as much as if he backs into a top 10. And I don't know. I haven't decided.
With the amount of things that could go wrong for Kyle Busch, I mean, his pit crew sucks ass, right?
Yeah.
So like just so many different things that could go wrong that could absolutely derail that 40-50% ownership that he might get. I just feel like it's, like I said, if he beats me, he beats me. But just unclicking his name, I could do whatever the hell I want, ownership-wise, it feels like.
Yeah.
All right.
You're 100% right.
Let's get on to our crown their ass. Let's do it.
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
No massive bold takes here. You got Christopher Bell for Sterling. You got Chase Elliott for Ryan. This feels pretty obvious. We're okay with playing both of these guys together. Feels like, I'm sure, I'm going to try to prioritize, getting a handful of builds, without both of them, just in case. Last week I went massively Blaney Larson, and it was working out for me pretty good up until you know what. So look, any additional thoughts on this? If people are jumping around the show, this just feels like these guys are going to be top 3 in ownership. I don't think we have to get too crazy with our opinions on these guys. Elliott could come out and lead the entire first stage, in theory, right? So even if he finishes, 10th, if he dominates a lot of this race, it still might be worth it to have him. Any other notes to add to this?
I think Chase Elliott leads NASCAR in top 5s too. I think he's like Mr. Consistent right now. So I think that's why I think he can stay up there.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, he's got that number 1 pit stall and number 1 pit crew. So it's going to be tough for Bell to get around Elliott, but I think at some point he does. I think Elliott runs short, dominates all the short runs, then Bell takes over on the long run. So I think that's the perfect pairing here.
All right, let's get to our fade here.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
So last week, Sterling faded Martin Truex. This week, Ryan's faded Martin Truex. Of course, if you've been watching the show, you know that, at this point, Sterling and I are out on Busch and Ryan's on the fence. Maybe Ryan, you get, 20%, maybe you still get some of him. If you're playing cash, you probably want to start with Bell, Elliott, Busch. That's probably the way to go. We'll build a cash lineup here. Any other guys that you're just like that have some decent ownership that you're on the fence on, or in addition to probably not going to get to?
Do you want to bring up ownership, Sterling?
Yeah. Then I just want to point out that Kyle Busch has wrecked out in 3 of the last 4 races here.
Wow. Jeez, man. Yeah, I don't know. The ownership actually looks pretty. I don't know. It's pretty good to me. Other than McDowell, 20% on McDowell. He even came out and said he's terrible at this track.
I think we faded him because I was opening my mouth to say that, and you jumped right in there. So yeah, fuck McDowell, no play.
Yeah. McDowell's 20% on Sterling's end. I don't plan on playing any because it came out of his mouth and said he's terrible at this track. And Eric Jones came out and said that this car is slow and he's 20% owned. But like Sterling said, I mean, he could bite me, but I'm 0% Eric Jones, 0% Mike McDowell.
So while you guys are at it, while you guys are watching, go ahead and jump into the Dynasty DNA Discord. You'll get the full write-up from Sterling there. You get to see, his core. You'll get to see the value. You'll get to see a lot of deeper information. He spends a lot of time putting that together. That's free for you guys, so make sure you check it out. While you're at it, jump in the Edge DFS Discord as well. Let's jump into some lineup builds here, guys. So let's start with cash, sort of single entry, not worried about ownership. Let's just try to build like an optimal lineup without worrying about any of that stuff. So let's just do it, right? Let's go Bell, Elliott, and Bush to start for this. Now, I'm not playing any cash. I'm not playing any single entry. If I wanted to hedge a little bit and do, I don't know, like a $50 single entry or something like that, whatever those contests are, and I wanted to get one lineup with Bush just in case if he absolutely has the best day of the year for him, that might be a strategy. I'm not doing it, but let's build a lineup here. We got a 7,300 remaining with these three guys. Where are we going next?
I like Bubba Wallace.
I was actually just gonna say that. Yep, Bubba Wallace.
All right, 7,300 remaining here. So do we want to go low and grab one of these absolute punts that's maybe starting at the back and go, maybe in the 8K range or so for the last spot? Or do we want to go around 7K for these last two?
I like the idea of Haley.
Okay. Yep. Let's go Haley.
All right, 6,100 for Haley, starting 24th. That leaves us Chastain, Busher, Bowman, Barry, Gregson, Briscoe. There's a lot of good options here. Feels like the highest owned guy. Who's the highest owned guy out of this list?
That's tough. Probably Chastain, maybe. I don't know, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot of options here, though. If you had to pick one. We've talked about Chastain. We talked a little bit about Bowman. We talked about Barry. We talked about Briscoe, even Cindric. I feel like just maxing out that money and grabbing Chastain is probably the safest play, but I think there's a lot of different options here that you can go with. And this feels like it could be a GPP build as well. I mean, am I crazy?
No, not at all. Not at all. But yeah, Chastain is what, 11% owned?
Yeah. I'm seeing
Busher's 11.
And Barry's actually a couple percent more, like 14. So
Right. Kind of like the Chastain.
Yeah, I honestly don't mind anybody in that range there.
So we got three guys in the top 10. You got some other randos here, and then you got a chalky Kyle Busch. No salary remaining on this. Let's build a clear GPP lineup here. So let's start with our Bell, Elliott, and then maybe we'll build one or two without either of them. So let's start with Bell, Elliott. Do you want to just try right off the bat to grab an expensive dude along with this and go like three expensive dudes and try to see if we can even do it? Do you want to try a Larson here and just see if we can pull it off?
Let's do it.
All right, so we got 6,600 here. So this is a triple punt / massive double punt with a mid-range guy. So let's grab our favorite kind of value guy here. Are we going back to Haley here? Are we going? What are we doing?
Yeah, let's go Haley. What do you think about Austin Dillon?
I don't mind that because then that lets us get up there to Bubba.
Yeah, I actually like that lineup there.
You can go Bubba, you can go Noah Gregson, you can go Briscoe, Cindric. So we got Bell, Elliott, Larson, Haley, Dillon, Wallace. Is this a viable roster construction that we could build quite a few lineups like this with just getting Bell, Elliott, and Larson together?
It's actually funny. I actually have that same lineup. So,
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, is this something that we can build quite a few builds with, or is this one of these things where we're not super comfortable with these three lower tier guys? I mean, Bubba Wallace feels like a better play than obviously some of these other guys, but can we continue to build like this confidently?
Yeah, I think so. I just built one that would take out Bubba and Dillon and then throw in Priest and Cindric. So I think there's quite a bit you can do in that range there.
All right, so we know we can build with Larson, Elliott, and Bell. If we wanted to use Bush here, let's put Bush in and see if we could do anything with this. So, what do you want to do, Priest or Haley or Dylan?
Yeah, let's just go our favorite. Let's go Haley. He's the cheapest, and I think he's my favorite. So
Eric Jones. I mean, now you're in the basement here. Who would you get in the 6K and under range? Put Bush and Stenhouse in the lineup together. That's funny.
yeah, I wouldn't go Stenhouse. I'd probably try. I guess you got to go to the safest floor. Maybe go Eric Jones.
I was gonna say I think it's almost has to be Jones or Dylan or possibly Zane Smith, but I don't feel good about that.
I don't either.
This feels like a very duped lineup. Like, I don't know that I would play this with Bush. Just my opinion. Who knows? I might end up with some, but like I said, I think I'm fully unchecking Bush, so I won't end up with any of this. So let's get rid of Larson, and let's start with Bell and Elliott. Now, it feels like we're going to have a little bit more flexibility here. Like, do we want to, like, what do we want to do? We want to go mid-range for 2 or 3 guys, or 8K and above, and then just punt once? Like, what are we thinking here for a Bell Elliott build to start for GPP? Blaney? No. We want to do Blaney. We want to do maybe Blaney without one of these guys, right?
Yeah, pivot off one of those guys with Blaney. That's what I would try.
You want to leave Elliott out, or you want to leave Bell out?
I would probably take Elliott out if we're gonna put Blaney in.
Yeah.
All right, so Bell, Blaney. Let's start with that. So Blaney's more expensive, so we're at 7,100 with 4 spots left. You want to find value first. You want to find another stud. We haven't even really gotten to any Hamlin in any of these builds yet. Where do you want to go?
I feel like when we get down to value, you almost have to play Haley. Like, my core is Bell, Elliott, Haley, so
We got 7,500 remaining for 3 spots. Just anybody that jumps out to you, maybe in this 8K range.
8K range.
I mean, it could be higher, but we'd have to get in the probably 5K range for the last spot.
I feel like I want to sprinkle in some Josh Berry.
I don't mind that.
Yeah.
All right, Josh Berry. We got 2 spots left. Are we going back to the usual? Are we going with maybe Bubba Wallace here? You know, there's some Briscoe. There's some Bowman.
I do like Briscoe. And then I do like so what if you put Briscoe in, then that would leave us
7,400. Gregson, Cindric. Leave some money on the table. Gilly, Hocevar, Priest. So
what do you think that's Sterling?
In theory,
you want to go?
In theory, you could go Priest or one of these dudes and come up off of Briscoe and go a little higher.
Yeah. See if you can go up to how far could you go up then?
So if I put Priest in, that gets us Bush or Bubba Wallace.
Yeah.
I'd like
Bubba
with that.
Yeah.
So we got a Christopher Bell, Blaney. We're fading Elliott in this lineup. Haley, Berry, Wallace, Priest. So let's do a. Do you want to do a Chase Elliott, no Christopher Bell build?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
So no Christopher Bell build. What does that mean? What other stud are we grabbing here?
Let's see if we can do Hamlin, Larson, and Elliott.
Ooh,
Hamlin.
I love that. Let's try that.
Yeah, that would be interesting because that's 2 place differential guys with a dominator.
Then they have potential to dominate themselves.
Right. I actually really like that. So that leaves us 6,600. So let's go down to Haley. That leaves us 6,900.
2 spots left. You could massively punt in the 5K range and go up, or we can get 2 mid-range guys.
Let's go Austin Dillon and then either Kyle Busch or Bubba Wallace. What do you think about that?
For me, every time it's going to be Bubba when it comes down to those two.
I know.
So this feels like a very unique build. Correct me if I'm wrong, but no Busch, no Bell. You're getting guys like, you're double punting kind of with Haley and Dillon, just hoping they stay on the lead lap. But you got Elliott, who can lead. You can dominate this race. Hamlin is always in it. And, of course, Kyle Larson. 3 massive studs that feel like they're going to be lower owned than they should be just because of the amount of sort of smash plays we have on this slate. Anything else jump out to you about roster construction and builds? It feels like there's a lot more options. Like I feel like we can get to Larson quite a bit if we really wanted to, as well as Hamlin, and still be able to jam in these studs, right?
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting. I mean, Hamlin started off really slow last week. I mean, Sterling kind of alluded to the fact that like before Larson, quote unquote, took him out, he was actually really fast. So I feel like the ownership on Hamlin might be a little lower because people might look at his finishing result from last week and also see that he was slow from the get-go, but he was moving up through the field.
Yeah.
So
I love your bold take last week, Sterling, about I believe you said Hamlin will take out Larson and they'll both be out of the race. It almost happened.
yeah, he did.
All right, so what's some bold takes you guys have? Anything you learned after we spent some time building? Anything jump out to you as far as guys that maybe you're thinking a little bit more about now that we've built some lineups?
Yeah, not really, to be honest. How about you, Sterling? Nothing really comes out.
No, I can't really think of anything.
Bold take. I mean, hopefully they just either get all 300 laps in the day or they just go to Monday. I just don't want this race shortened. Yeah. So
bold take. Say Justin Haley top 10.
Is that bold anymore?
It's a Rick Rare.
Well, I mean, it should be bold, but man, that guy's been driving his ass off. So,
all right, who do you think?
Like
each one of you guys, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Who do you think wins this race?
Christopher Bell.
Yeah.
Last time they shortened the race for whether Bell won that, right? That was the Larson Indy.
That's true. Yep.
Not that means anything, but hey, there's some superstition out there. All right, guys, we appreciate you. Let's make sure you're following, hit subscribe, like this video. Let's get us to 30 likes. Hopefully this race goes off today and finishes. If not, we'll be in the Discord for Monday. Make sure you guys are in that Discord. We will see you guys next week. What do we got next week, guys? What track are we at?
Nashville.
Yeah.
Nashville.
Nashville. What kind of track is what kind of track is that?
It's somewhat similar to Darlington in a sense. They're intermediate.
Yeah.
Got it. All right, y'all. Throw us a like. We'll see you later.
Yep. See ya.